The House Judiciary and Civil Law Committee is called back to order. The order of business that we were last on is House File 97. Representative Kunesh-Podein had deferred to Adash Uni, and I apologize if I'm butchering your name. Please correct me, regarding the most recent question posed by, I can't remember whom. But if you wanted to just pick up from there, Representative Kunesh-Podein, if you wanted to take a different direction, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd kind of like to start over and set the stage for this bill. You know, my 3-sentence introduction, I don't think gave quite the overview that I was hoping to. So I'd like to just start over and begin it again, and perhaps some of those questions that folks have will be a little clearer, and then we'll go on from there. Sound good?
Excellent. Go ahead. Please proceed.
So on behalf of the Office of Indian Education and at the request of the Tribal Nations Education Committee, this bill is before you in order to allow for better compliance with the federal ESSA, which is the Every Student Succeeds Act, where districts and charter schools are supposed to, by federal law, to engage in timely and meaningful tribal consultation around education plans created under the Title VI funds and the requirements. There are several required consultation topics that are necessary for the sharing of student data with our tribal nations, such as achievement based from assessments, helping with truancy, discipline, post-secondary opportunities, and a lot of other ways that they're able to support the families and the students. But the problem is that since tribal nations are not explicitly on the list of entities and uses which districts and charters can share private education data, and that's in Minnesota Statute 13.32, Subdivision 3, districts and charter schools are not able to share the data with tribes. So as you can imagine, there is a critical need for accurate, meaningful, and timely data information for American Indian students. And of course, without that, it impedes our meaningful consultation as the governor has instructed us to do with our tribes. So with the access to data that pertains to our American Indian students, tribes will finally be able to advocate on behalf of their students, to determine federal and funding budget usages, support and strengthen budget justifications, allocate resources, provide services, conduct strategic planning, and comply with statutory and regulatory reporting processes. And so I think we can all agree how important accurate data collection is, and community-based planning definitely captures the true needs of our American Indian students. So House File 97 can drive larger programmatic investments that result in cost-efficient uses of tribal, federal, and private resources. Without this quality data, policymakers and community, and when I say policymakers, that's us, even in, like, I'm on the education committee. We need that data. Without that data, we have nothing, you know, to start from, to work with, to see where the disparities are or where issues are that we can create good policy to support our American Indian students. So without that quality data, we legislators and community planners can't set policy goals. We can't monitor implementation or measure impact or plan for demographic shifts in an effective way. The absence of our American Indian students in data and policy domains could very well be one of the reasons that our American Indian students experience the lowest outcomes of our educational system within our state. And so again, the proposal in House File 97 would allow districts and charters to share the data with tribes for legitimate educational purposes without confusion around the law. And that's what it is.
Excellent. Thank you. Well presented, Representative Kunesh-Podein.
Pardon me?
Someone is piping in. Who is that?
Mr. Chair, it's Representative Albright.
Go ahead, Representative Albright.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Representative Kunesh-Podein, I appreciate starting over. That does give a much better context for the rationale behind this legislation. Is the information that's offered to the tribal community on behalf of the students that would be enrolled in either a charter or an ISD, is that disaggregated data, or is that pertinent to each individual student?
Representative Kunesh-Podein.
I believe it is pertinent to each individual student because remember that there are 11 tribes in Minnesota alone. And then we've got our neighbors to the north and the south and the west and the east. And those are individual tribes as well. So even though the student might be living, let's say in New Brighton, Minnesota, they might be an enrolled member of Standing Rock Tribe in South Dakota. And with the information and the resources that enrollment tribe has for that student, they can reach across and say, here are our support systems. If we don't have them, you know, from South Dakota, we know people in Minnesota that can work on this together. And there's also, you know, these the Indian parent committees and communities that are a resource to families and schools. And so it would be individual information.
Mr. Chair.
Representative Albright.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I appreciate that for the sake of, you know, encouraging the student, but are we subordinating parental oversight of pertinent personal information about that individual to tribal governance? I know, and I'm not trying to cast aspersions, but in any circumstance, there could be concerns and or information disclosed that would be private to the parent, but not pertinent to the tribal governance structure. How do we prevent that from being used against the student in some type of adverse way? Who is responsible for protecting the student from misuse of that data?
Sure, I can understand that sentiment. And I think another point that I want to make is this very unique relationship that American Indians typically, and I would say the majority of them, have this very unique relationship with their tribes. No matter where they live, the essence of their tribal sovereignty remains with their tribe. And I don't know if you can understand that or believe it, but it's absolutely true. And by treaties, by laws with the federal government, tribal members are citizens of 3 sovereigns. Their tribe, first of all, then the United States, and then the state in which they reside. They are also individuals in an international context with the right to any other individual. So if they're out of the state, out of the country, they are a sovereign entity in France or England or Canada. And so the very essence of the tribal affiliation is that ability to govern and to protect and enhance the health, safety, and welfare of their tribal members. And American Indians know this. This is like in their being. So your question is, what about if somebody tries to misuse that kind of information? Well, first of all, there is the ability to create permission or acknowledgement with the school districts, with the parents. So when there's an enrollment that happens, oops, somebody's dog got my dog. Okay. So for example, the Shakopee band, they share information with their school district because they have an agreement with the school districts, and the parents sign off on that. So this bill is identifying those tribal nations as like a volunteer group or a group within in the school district where the legitimate, and we're saying legitimate, so scores and things like that. I have a list of things that they can access. If they're not on that list as a volunteer, then the schools don't have to give that information out. And some schools push back and refuse to do that. So tribes can only use identifiable information for legitimate educational purposes. And so in this case, the tribes would use the information to help provide information on how to target support for students, how to fulfill their consultation obligation under federal ESSA. And if that information and summary is non-identifiable, then the tribes can do what they want to do with that information. So if they're misusing it, then they would also be they would be liable. They would be their participation for data security is dictated under Chapter 13 data privacy laws. So, and just like any other school that holds that data information, it's the same responsibility for the tribes.
Representative Albright, you know, and you're asking these questions, I know these questions are, I guess, close to what Chair Scott would often ask too. And I was asked specifically by Chair Scott about trying not to have a hearing on Tuesday if we could. And it's only now that I'm realizing that she's not with us, and that was not certainly intentional. I know this is an area that's important to her, and hopefully, Representative Albright, you're asking some of those questions that Rep. Scott would have asked as well, related to the specific security of data for the kids. So thank you. Please proceed.
Mr. Chair, I take that as a very high compliment that you would consider that I would ask questions akin to what my esteemed colleague would. I only have a couple more for the representative, and it has to do with, and Representative Kunesh-Podein, everything that you've said makes sense, and I understand that because the Shakopee, Midwakaton, and Sioux community shares that similar relationship with the Prior Lake Savage School District. I just want to make sure that from a protection standpoint, that data is disseminated with parental approval. And in some cases, as you can understand, the disparate nature of parents, sometimes you get one without the other. And so I just want to make sure, how do we make sure that parental oversight of that data is approved by the parents to each student?
Sure. So, thank you, Chair. And that's a really good piece of information. And again, our school districts hold that information, and what happens if they were to leak that information, there are repercussions. But there are different ways that you can ensure that the parents understand that the tribes are using or accessing that information and using it appropriately. The best thing that you can do in a school district is to build a trusting relationship with those parents. When school starts and there are all those permissions forms to sign for, allowing your kid's picture to be taken, they can go on field trips, they can do this, they can do that. That's another opportunity for it. So it would be probably at the best way is to create that relationship between the tribes and the school districts across the state, with the understanding that there would be some sort of permission to share that data. And if they don't want that data shared, then it would probably end right there.
Representative Albright.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Representative Kunesh-Podein, if I could draw your attention to lines 2.12 through 2.14. And it would relate to what we were just talking about with regard to parental consent. And I don't know about, you know, the nature of, and this is where Chair Lush is so much better, but it says, except as authorized by law, without the written consent of the parent of the student, and the request and a record of the release are maintained in the student's file. So is the language that you're adding at the back, at the bottom end of this chapter of statute, is that primary to 2.13 through 2.14? Are we subordinating the rights of the parents to the tribe?
And I'm going to ask Mr. Uni to step in here, but if we go back to 3.19, just at the very end before the new language starts, it says, at a minimum, the institution must distribute the information release forms to parent and student orientation meetings or to tribal nations about tribally enrolled. So I don't believe it trumps the other one. I think it's meant to be to work in conjunction with each other, but perhaps Mr. Uni would be able to clarify that a little bit more.
Mr. Uni's chomping at the bit here to give a good answer. He's ready. Go ahead, Mr. Uni.
Mr. Chair, Adosh Uni, Government Relations Director with the Department of Education. I appreciate the opportunity to provide a little bit of clarity here. So if you look at the statute in question that's looking to be amended, 13.32 for educational data, it indeed does, under this subdivision 3, allow 17 uses or entities access to private individually identifiable data that is education data without parental consent. So this is 17 different entities. One of those entities that Representative Kunesh-Podein did identify was a volunteer organization or volunteer individual who has a legitimate educational interest in processing the data to provide support to the school district, provide support to families. And how that's governed is under the disclosure agreements that the districts or charters have with the entity that they're sharing the data with. And that includes parameters around the allowable uses, the strict parameters around the uses, reminders of what the consequences are under state and federal law about abuses of that data. And I think Representative Kunesh-Podein covered it quite well, that it's around specific legitimate educational interests. So the tribes wouldn't be able to gather data on every single student in the district. They would be gathering data as defined in the bill, which is a tribally enrolled or descended student of their specific tribe. Additionally, they would be using it for the purposes of the meaningful and substantive consultation under the federal law. So the parameters would be quite tightly written. And some districts, again, as Representative Kunesh-Podein pointed out, some districts do have a strong relationship with the tribes and currently do consider the tribes under that volunteer exception, but we have an inconsistent application around the state. And so some legal counsel for certain districts are informing their district clients that, you know, this isn't necessarily a volunteer organization. They're not explicitly named. So you shouldn't share the data with them because they're not on the list. So the real problem is we have an inconsistent application around the state, but this wouldn't be creating a new, whole new system where it's circumventing parental consent. It is adding them in as a legitimate partner with legitimate educational interest to 17 other uses and entities.
Thank you for that answer, Mr. Uni. Representative Albright?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Uni, my follow-up then to you then is going back to lines 2.12 through 2.14 with all those 17 entities that would be able or privy to the data on a student. Are they all availed to that data? And then to include what the initiative at the bottom of 3.21 through 3.23 with or without parental consent?
So this,
before the data is given to them.
Mr. Rooney.
pardon me, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, Representative Albright. So again, the data that any of these entities currently, and if the tribes are added, it would be the same thing. The data that they're privy to is for those narrow purposes that are defined either in that statute for health purposes, for truancy purposes, for post-secondary setting purposes, or for a set of reasons defined in a disclosure agreement. They would be able to have access to that specific set of data for a specific set of students for a specific set of time, and it would be defined in the agreement. They don't necessarily have an ongoing access to data. There are situations, maybe what you're talking about, where there are entities who weren't necessarily on the list, and there do have to be parental consent. Under that under that requirement, we generally say that data can be held for about a year, and I think that's under federal law. So there are several routes to go. One, as we were discussing here under the statute, which is explicitly allowed to access data with an agreement with the district. And I do want to say the district and charter is not necessarily under an obligation to share the data with these entities or for these uses. They are allowed to share the data without parental consent. So there's nothing forcing the district or charter to share it.
Representative Albright.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for your indulgence. Mr. Uni, so the answer to my previous question is that these entities are availed of the data periodically or intermittently without parental approval. Is there any notice given to the parents at any point in time that their students' data may be shared with these entities from time to time for purposes of compliance with ESSA and other federal programs? Is there any disclosure to the guardians, parents, or supervising entities over a juvenile with regard to their data?
Mr. Oni.
Mr. Chair, Representative Albright, I believe in our, and I don't know under federal law, but for sure, but I do believe the case is that there is a broad notice to parents that under federal and state law, and this would be in the student handbook, that data could be shared for specific purposes as allowed by statute and under federal law.
Representative Albright.
Thank you, Mr. Uni. Representative Kunesh-Podein, I don't see a Senate companion on this. I certainly align with your desire to provide as best of a quality education for all tribal communities, and my heart is with the SMSC in my own community. So where do you go from here without Senate a companion?
Representative Kunesh-Podein, normally we don't permit the minority to bring up the
It's
Senate.
after 8 o'clock, Chairman Lesh. Give me some levity.
Well, she's heading over to the Senate, so maybe I'll let her answer. Maybe she has an opinion. Go ahead, Representative Kunesh-Podein.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
We are working on that at the moment. We are hoping that we'll be able to negotiate an agreement, and they sometimes like to see how things go over here before they make that final commitment. And so we will take the consequences of this meeting and share it with our Senate partners, and hopefully they will jump on board and we'll get it done by the end of the week.
She is, Representative Albright, she is right about that. We usually end up doing the heavy lifting anyway, and then the Senate takes credit. So
there's a lot that's brewing over there that they aren't, putting out in front of us. That's kind of working on the background, waiting to see how it goes over here. So I'm optimistic.
And Mr. Chair, if I may.
Mr. Rooney.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And yeah, I noticed that too, Representative Albright, that there isn't a formal companion to this bill. However, This provision is contained in another bill in the House that was heard in education policy, and that has a companion over in the Senate that's being carried by Senator Torres Ray, and it contains this provision. Additionally, during regular session, it was contained in the department's policy bill. I know that we have a whole new set of bills now, but the provision has been introduced in the Senate in various fashions.
Well, there you go. Okay. Any other questions, Representative Albright? I'm giving you all this latitude because I don't have anyone else on the list either. So,
Mr. Chair, I thought it was just the quality of the questions.
well, it was that. That's what I meant to say. Are there any other questions that folks have of Representative Kunesh-Podein or Mr. Uni? Okay.
Mr. Chair, this is Lucero. I wasn't going to speak, but if you're soliciting questions, I'm sure I could come up with a dozen or
for you.
four.
You drank your fill. Drank your fill. I don't know. No, I do you have a question, Representative Lucero?
Nope, I do not. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Well, we don't have any amendments to House File 97. Seeing no further discussion, the motion.
Mr. Chair, Representative O'Neill has one.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I had my hand up, but I know you've got a lot of screens. My question to Representative Kunesh-Podein is if she'd be willing to add an amendment as this moves forward to include the requirement for parental consent to share the data. I think with that, we would probably get more consensus from the minority party.
Representative Kunesh-Podein.
It's something that I would consider. I would like to have, I guess, more consideration and have a little bit more understanding of how that might affect the movement or the acceptance of this bill on the other side of the in the Senate. So I mean, I'm not saying no, but I'm not saying yes.
To the extent
I understand where you're coming from. As a teacher, you know, as a parent myself, I get it, but well, you know, we can talk about it.
Representative Kunesh-Podein, to the extent it's worth anything at all, I would look on that very favorably if you were able to accommodate that or work toward it in any case. Mr. Uni?
Mr. Chair, thank you for indulging me. Representative O'Neill, Representative Kunesh-Podein, just speaking, this proposal was put forth to us by Representative Scott earlier in the session before the legislature went on the short hiatus, and as well in an April hearing on the matter. We took the proposal to the Tribal Nations Education Committee, and they felt strongly that that would put them on a lower accessibility to the 17 other uses and entities that would be able to access educational data without parental consent. The whole purpose of this statute is to be able to access educational data without parental consent. So to add someone in with parental consent would be counter to what the purpose of the law is. So I would have to say at this point, the department would oppose that proposal.
Any other comments, questions? The motion is that House File 97 be recommended to be placed on the general register. The committee legislative assistant will take the roll. Chair votes aye.
Representative Moeller.
Aye.
Representative Scott. Representative Albright.
Yes.
Representative Barr.
Yes.
Representative Cantrell.
Yes.
Representative Carlson.
Yes.
Representative Considine.
Yes.
Representative Hassan. Representative Kerr.
Yes.
Representative Johnson.
Yes.
Representative Liebling.
Yes.
Representative Lucero.
Yes.
Representative Mariani. Representative Noor,
Yes.
Representative O'Neill,
Yes.
Representative Robbins,
Yes.
Representative Zhang,
Yes.
On a vote of 15 ayes and 0 nays, the motion prevails and the bill is sent to the general register. Thank you very much, Representative Kunesh-Podein. Members,
you.
there is no other business before the committee tonight. Thank you for your indulgence of pushing this back to the late hour, but we did get this done in almost before 9 o'clock. It was an important bill and an important conversation and discussion. Ms. Ganani, do we have anything else posted?
I don't, no, we do not as of now.
Nothing else is posted as yet. And I guess it remains to be seen. So keep an eye on your email, members, to determine whether or not we're going to be meeting anymore this week. But again, thank you very much. Get some rack, and we will see you around. Committee is adjourned.